Hello everybody, my name is Jonathan Pomeroy, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the requirement of school uniforms in schools in America. Now, this isn't the typical debate that you're used to hearing. I actually wanted to talk to you today about requiring school uniforms for teachers to wear instead of the students, well, in addition to the students, in those schools who already require it. Now, let me preface this debate by saying that the National Center for Education actually reports that about 25% of all schools in America have already adopted a school uniform policy for their students. So that's 1 in 4 students across our country that already have some sort of a school uniform requirement. And that number seems to be growing each year from what I've learned. Now, there are some out there who would say this argument has no merit because teachers are already presented a more strict dress code than students to begin with. Well, I believe that. However, I also believe that there are certain teachers out there who would maybe blur the lines a little bit and perhaps wear a low-cut t-shirt that maybe reveals a little bit too much, maybe slightly short skirt or really tight pants, anything that could possibly blur that line a little bit. That temptation could be out there for certain instructors. And I don't believe that that should ever be an issue in a school setting for our children. Now, I understand that most educators would never subject themselves to inappropriate dress while they're in a school environment. However, I also believe that teachers are a main and consistent role model to our students, and if that is the case, then what is the issue with having them wear uniforms as well? Again, this is only in schools who are already a requirement, not across the board. But to me, by enforcing it at the top, you eliminate a few things. The students wouldn't feel picked on, if you will, by a regulation or requirement. They wouldn't be feeling singled out by the system because, again, your teachers are also wearing uniforms. They're showing them the proper way to wear them. They're being ambassadors for the uniforms because that is in fact the policy at the schools. And again, it brings everything back to education. That's where the focus begins. That's where it begins, that's where it ends. More importantly, adopting this policy would also encourage students and teachers alike to evaluate each other based on their academic achievement rather than, say, the t-shirt that they're wearing or the shoes that they have on, something like that. It brings all of it back again to that education, which is what we want. The enforcement of wearing uniforms by the teachers as well as the students would also do another thing for us. It would eliminate the temptation for any type of inappropriate student-teacher relationships, allowing, again, more focus on education. And to put that in perspective, let's take Texas for example. This year alone, there have been 26 reported cases of inappropriate student-teacher relationships in that state alone. And that's according to the U.S. Department of Education. Now, I'm not proposing that a single uniform change requirement is going to stop all of those relationships from happening, but I do believe that it would put a significant damper in those relationships from even becoming an issue to begin with, because you're removing the sexual element from potentially being in that environment to begin with. And again, if I'm wearing a polo and khakis and you're wearing a polo and khakis, there's very little temptation there from a student-teacher perspective or even a teacher-teacher's perspective to perhaps go down that road that you shouldn't really be going down. And again, once you remove that sexual element from the equation to begin with, you can bring it back to what everybody's in school to begin with for, and that is, again, education. A recent study by researchers in the University of Houston actually found that by enforcing uniform wear by students, that both attendance and grade level, GPA, went up a significant amount in grades 6 through 12. The idea here being that students are more focused on their education than material things, such as if they have a pair of Nikes or, a funny t-shirt on or something like that. They're more focused on the objective at hand and learning, and they're presented in an environment that embraces that concept, and so that's where their focus remains. So it becomes less about individuality in that environment and more about, again, learning, which is why I feel, again, that we should be embracing this across the board in these schools. Furthermore, the International Association for the Evaluation of Educational Achievement reported that countries such as Taiwan, Japan, Hong Kong have all been scoring higher on a year-to-year basis than our American students in international testing. Common theme here, they all require students to wear uniforms. Now again, I suggest that we can take the same principle and apply it to the teachers as well, and then perhaps their focus would be more on a better lecture that day, more focused on students and their need for additional tutoring, things like that, things that a teacher should be doing but maybe aren't. And again, I'm not suggesting that a simple uniform change would change all of that, but I think it would help direct us in the right direction. So there's no question about anyone in the school and what they're allowed to wear, what they're not allowed to wear. It nixes all of that because everybody's on the same page. Everybody, top to bottom, has a distinct uniform on that's appropriate for that type of environment. And I believe that because of all of these things that I have said, that a uniform requirement should be in place. Now, again, let's take everything that I told you today and put it in perspective. 25% of schools in America already have a uniform policy. Why can't we put that towards teachers as well? There have been, in Texas alone, 26 reported cases, and that's just to date, this year, of inappropriate school relationships between teachers and students. Eliminate a sexual element for that, eliminate a potential threat for that to happen. International students scoring much higher than us on international testing, and again, their countries require uniform wear. I would even dare to say that perhaps their teachers have some sort of a uniform code. Now, lastly, I feel that by implementing this, again, it's not a punishment. It's not anything that is necessarily negative. You're embracing a positive. You're showing the students that, hey, you know what? Uniforms aren't so bad. We're here to educate you. You're here to get educated. So we're showing you that we embrace it by wearing our uniforms as well. So let's get our work done. Let's work together. Let's get educated. Let's become smart. And that's why I feel, with all those things combined, that this is a great idea and one that I think that we should all support. Thank you.